Okay, so the internet is gonna end us. Who knew computers would invent us? Who knew computers would invent us? Oh no, the internet is gonna end us. The internet is gonna end us. Yay! The internet is gonna end us. Who knew computers would invent us? Who knew computers would invent us? Oh no, the internet is gonna end us. The internet is gonna end us. But it's okay.
I'm gonna need so much Romulan ale to.
Well, I'm Captain James T. I drive the Enterprise. I've seen Romulan and Gorn with my own eyes. I've loved a lot of ladies from here to the neutral zone. But there's one shade of woman makes me feel right at home. I tore my yellow shirt on an Orion floor when I saw that Emerald Darling walk through the door. Spock raised an eyebrow, said, "Captain, that's illogical." I said, "Put a sock in the pointy ears, she's biological." Oh, she's green as the lights on my bridge console. She's the only alien who stole my soul. Forget the prime directive, I'm making a scene. I don't care if she's dangerous, as long as she's green. Oh, the pain, the pain. I'm stuck on this sphere with a bubble-headed booby and nothing but fear. That tin can robot yells danger all day, but I found a siren who makes it okay. She grabbed me by the tunic in the alien swamp, and my cowardly heart, it started to taunt. She might be a monster meant to eat us for lunch, but she's the prettiest gal in the whole bunch. Oh, she's green as the cash that I wish I had. If I don't get a kiss, I'll be hopping mad. Never fear, Smith is here with the love supreme. I'd trade the Jupiter 2 for that girl in green. Name is Star-Lord, man, I'm a legendary guy. Got a talking raccoon in a tree standing by. Got a Walkman tape playing a country beat, and a deadly assassin sweeping me off my feet. Her daddy is a type who wants to crush the stars, but she's prettier than the girls in the nowhere bars. She threatens to gut me with a rusty knife, and I reckon that means she wants to be my wife. She's green as a lime in a cocktail glass, and she's the only lady who can kick my ass. She can punch me in the jaw, she can treat me mean. I'm hooked on a feeling, and that feeling is green. She's green, like an emerald queen. Green, best I ever seen, like an emerald queen. Oh, give me a green skin gal, that's my desire. Set my hillbilly heart on a nuclear fire. She can be mean as a wildcat, as sweet as mint tea, just as long as she's green. She's the gal for me.
Hello, this is Londo Molai, and you're watching Madman Cafe. However, in the old days, the great days of the Republic, you would be spying all the Brevare, Hatjala, and Spool.
Oh yeah, still waiting for that lurker with all the bravado and spool and all those supplies. We're still waiting, and I don't think we'll ever get it. Welcome to another edition of the Madman Cafe, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that was fun last that interview with Peter. If you haven't gotten to see it, tomorrow we're airing a 30-minute version of it. All my questions that I asked on there. If not, you can also catch the entire version on this channel here, Sci-Fi Snob, Sci-Fi for Me TV, Tennessee Tabletop on there as well. All those videos are up, and you can watch them entirely on there. There's a lot going on. We'll have Peter back again eventually down the line. In fact, we're working on a appearance on the Sci-Fi for Me TV. Also, I just want to put out there for Jason and his wife out there. Hope there's, everything went well with the operation. We have prayers out here from everyone here to you, for speedy recovery on there. Also, I got to put out Mark DePlier. We got to congratulate him as his movie Iron Lung was a major hit over the box office weekend, hit number 2, doing about 21 million worldwide. And Hollywood tried to hide it. They took him off the listings, and they said, "Oh no, it's an error." That bull, to that point. Congratulate. This proves that anyone can go out there, get themselves funded, make it themselves, go out there and distribute it themselves out there. He did it to 3,000 theaters, to that point. So we got today, we're doing Star Trek Academy again, episode 4. And we got a couple people with us that's going to be joining us. Of course, obviously, we have Sci-Fi Snob with us today. Hey, Snob.
Hello.
On there. Also, we got from abroad, joining us from overseas, our brethren content creator from the United Kingdom, Dean.
Hi, Madman. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, it's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you.
There. I guess everybody saw the episode for last week. I know, Dean, you binged 1 through 4.
I binged all 4 over the weekend, and
I feel
never
sorry
missed
for
any.
you. I feel sorry for you. We're going to have to get you some, as they call it, something to cleanse the palate a little bit. Maybe we get a little Sydney Sweeney in this episode. Figure out that somehow, or something to that nature.
That would be nice.
On there.
Yes.
Onto there. Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting episode because it is a Klingon episode. But it gets crazy on this. I mean, we're dealing with how do you pronounce it? Jaden Krag. To that point. I just look at this. This does not look like a Klingon. It doesn't look like a Klingon at all to me. Considering the way that Star Trek is made for all the years, and me growing up with Star Trek, I'm 59 now. I grew up with the original episodes. In fact, that were in syndication on there, and then seeing the way they're butchering this now, it's just it disappoints me. Now, normally we have I had somebody else going to be doing the opening today, but they haven't arrived yet. So I guess I'm going to have to do the breakdown. Let me just.
Was it Cam? He's always late.
No, it was supposed to be Outpost.
Oh, okay.
Outpost is late. But I just want to say hello to everyone out there. Of course, D. Pensack is out with us. Also, Vicky Hill Jowett is on there too.
That's my wife supporting me.
Oh, that's right. Oh, Mrs. Dean on there. Hello, Mrs.
Yes.
Dean on there. And and everybody else that basically is out there that just hasn't clicked in and that into the chat. Do welcome onto there. So let's get on with this. It is episode 4, Vox in Excelsior.
Something.
Yeah. Directed by Doug Amariski, written by Eric Anthony Glover, Galavolo, cinematography by Philip Layton on there. During the USS Athena's first space flight, wait a minute, wasn't the first space flight in the first episode?
Yeah.
Of the school year, the doctor, Robert Picardo, teaches the cadets about the power of debate, while Caleb is a natural. Jaden expresses his anxiety around public speaking. Captain Aki and Lura call Jaden into a meeting and inform him that a Klingon ship carrying a large quantity of the remaining members of the 8 houses has crashed, putting the species on the brink of extinction. Despite being unable to confirm whether his family are still alive, Jaden chooses to return to his classes and pushes the doctor to allow him uh, the subject of the debate competition to be the Klingon diaspora. Flashbacks detail Jaden's life as a refugee on Heroes Prime, while his reluctance to kill strains his relationship with his parents, particularly his father, Deco, his brother, Thar, recognizes that Jaden has a different path to walk and gives him a salvage Starfleet recruit beacon, sounding more and more like, Harry Potter. When Thar is poisoned, trying to trade for more forbidden Starfleet tech, Deco refuses to allow Jaden to use the technology to heal him, and he dies from his wounds after encouraging his brother to believe in himself and trust the stars. Deco takes Jaden on a ritual hunt, but refuses the kill, enraging his father, who misses his own shot at their prey, storms off and destroys the beacon. The family then abandons him on Krios Prime, leading him to join Starfleet Academy. Discussing the Klingon emergency, Admiral Weiss tells Aki that the Federation has identified a new planet, Fawn Alpha, for the remaining refugees to settle on, and suggests contacting her old flame, uh, Klingon General Wolchuk, who may be able to convince the proud species of accepting their help. Wolchuk rejects Aki's proposal, stating that Klingon traditions will not permit them to accept charity, but he agrees to look into whether the Crag family survived the crash. Jaden rejects Caleb's offer to team up for the debate, insisting that he will be arguing that Starfleet should stay out of Klingon affairs, and they fight. Darum later visits Jaden quarters and teaches him some uh, Keonan breathing technique for his anxiety, but leaves suddenly when they begin to get close to one another. Hmm. Things get personal during Caleb and Jaden's debate, and the doctor shuts it down. Laura visits Jaden, sharing her own experience, part as a part Klingon, telling him that his father purposely missed his shot during their hunt in order to set him free. Returning to the debate, Jaden states that the Federation should be seeking a Klingon solution to the Klingon problem than rather trying to impose their own ideas for species survival. On Jaden's advice, Aki and Vance take the Athena to Fauna Alpha and informs Wochuk that all the Klingon ships in the sector are now enemies of the Federation, and a brief battle commences. Vance then surrenders to Wochuk, who claims that Fauna Alpha is as a spoils of war, allowing the Klingons to settle there while retaining their honor. Wochuk later informs Jaden that his family are safely on Fauna Alpha and gives him a warrior's bow from his father. Caleb and Jaden reconcile with the former, repairing the broken beacon, and they share stories of their families. That was a rough one. So here's the story. That's we got the story. But I mean, I put it to this perspective into this article that was out. Literally, the Klingons are all in hell now, and Paramount just set them there. I mean, it's you have to put to the perspective that Paramount not only destroyed the Klingon Empire, they destroyed the Romulan Empire and they destroyed the Vulcan Empire. All in several different. It was like two movies and a series.
If I was not a human in this series, I'd be looking over my shoulder.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Obviously,
It's not good. Homeworld seem to suffer a fate. Almost every new season that comes out, every new series that comes out, someone's Homeworld has
Do you
to
really
go.
want to be a Ferengi? I don't
Ooh.
think so.
That
Watch
said,
out.
have we seen any Ferengi?
Yeah, there was in the episode 1 really bad. The makeup was horrible. It was just like a mask you bought at Spirit of Halloween.
Someone was chewing on the guy's ear.
Yeah. Oh.
They were chewing on his ears. They're all pointy, like with. Anyway.
Yeah, but getting into this, I mean, there was a lot of, errors in this episode. I mean, it was just I mean, they butchered the Klingon Empire in this episode. I mean,
Come on,
literally.
best episode ever.
He calls it the best episode ever.
Remember,
But
Cam challenged me to find the good in this series.
he said what?
Cam challenged me to find the good in this series. He's watching. He says, "You're going to watch it. I want you to find the good in this series."
Well, it was all bad. I mean, think to this perspective, and I'll bring up this one part of it before going into deep dive. The hunt, the situation, they're using bows and stuff like that to do the hunt. One that was completely, the hunt itself is a journey of, it's an independent journey, which we saw in a Next Generation episode where Worf was looking for his father, ended up on that planet where it was like the Romulans and Klingons were sharing, life together on that planet, and he taught that the other Klingon to basically to hunt, to that point. But the thing is that notice there were no bat'leths or no Klingon daggers. So you're telling me after the burn, none of those weapons survived the burn? Nobody had one on the ship or anything like that. I mean, all you had was like a bow with 2 blades on it.
Aren't they all made out of dilithium, so they blew up? There you go.
The dilithium's a crystal, not a metal.
I'm just trying to help.
Okay.
Oh, come on. Now, come on. You got to expand your imagination a little bit, Dean. Come on.
Yeah. If we're being charitable, the Klingon Empire went through a terrible transformation. Their homeworld got blown up. I mean, it was bad enough when their moon Praxis blew up and they had 50 years left because of the damage to the atmosphere. However, the Khitomer Accords, the Federation stepped in, a lot was repaired, but all it did seem to do is delay the inevitable. And during the burn, losing their homeworld, it fragmented the Empire. They lost all control of the territories they had from all account. I think that would, trying to look at this charitably, that would transform a race, that would transform an empire. And maybe some of the more traditions that, like using the bat'leth and stuff like that, maybe some of that went more to the side. They had to adopt new ways of doing things because they refused any technological aid from the Federation. Not that the Federation were really around during the burn, because they shrunk incredibly during that period, and they kind of became very insular. But I'm just trying to look at the positive side here. Maybe the Klingon culture had changed because of the or everything that happened to them, losing their home world in such a terrible way, and trying to cling, to a new galaxy after the burn.
I would actually push back on that. I would think that the opposite would happen. People find solace in difficult times and traditions and things. I think they're at least just as good a chance of them becoming more Klingon as adopting new things. So, and Klingons are pretty traditional. So my tendency would be to think they would go that way. But I mean, you're right. It could be either way. But yeah.
Well, I find it to the point it's, and I think it is looking back on the old episodes on that with the Klingons, it's always a challenge for them. It's the rite of passage or rite of battle for them on there. For them losing their planet in a way, looking for a new world to live on would be a challenge to the point. Similar to what the end of Space Seed with Khan. He says, I could build a new empire on this world that's barren. It's a harsh world, but I'm going to take the challenge, to basically build a new world onto that point. And then, the same thing, this is with the Klingons to that point. But, getting into the episode itself and a lot of the issues, of course, we have Robert Picardo here. He's doing a mock debates with the kids onto there. One thing, and I mentioned this with Dean before the show started, there was an Easter egg in the background, which I think it's almost an Easter egg to the next episode, that there was a, how schools have clubs and stuff like that. There was a Bajoran club in the background that was meeting. And it was like the screen had, Bajor on the screens onto there. So it's like something that's for next week, I guess. Well, we're having a Bajoran next episode on there, which sounds even crazier than this one. But the thing is with the way this starts, this episode is the doctor says a speech that was in the episode Next Generation Drumhead, and he just butchers the end of it. I mean, he misses a complete ending of it. And let me just bring up the speech itself, which is with the first link, the chain is forged, the first speech is censured, the first thought forbidden, the first freedom denied, chains all of us irrecoverably. The first time any man's freedom is trodden on, we are all damaged. Now, the section where it's basically the freedom was removed. The freedom line was removed from there. So it jumps from forbidden to the end of it. And it's just like, why did they do that? Was this done purposely on there, or it was just the writers didn't just get it right? I mean, what do you gentlemen feel like?
I'm not too sure, because this opening scene for me, you got the Doctor being quite insulting to demonstrate that he has the right to speak his mind, and I thought that was actually quite refreshing. And he was preparing them for debate. One of the students complained, and it was like, well, it doesn't matter what you think. I have the right to say what I wish to say. So the fact they butchered that line and removed freedom, I don't know whether it was carelessness, because I've seen a lot of carelessness in this. They've used things like graphics of popular planets and pretended to be other planets. There seems to be a lot of sloppiness in the production of this series. Not enough oversight to make sure it's it adheres to canon from the previous series. So I don't know whether this was just an oversight. Someone thought they had the whole of the speech and that was going to be repeated, and a line got missed.
Well, it's not only one line that was missed. There was basically a lot of names, places, history that was basically butchered in here. I mean, we had Kronos, Kittimer, Kalis were all butchered in this.
And they was pronouncing Kronos as it's written, Kronos, rather than Kronos.
Right.
And again, I think it's oversight. I think we haven't got anybody who understands the Trek lore, making sure pronunciations are correct, making sure things are adhering to what came before.
Yeah, because I mean, when Sam went Kittimer, and I was like, Kittimer. I don't remember the Kittimer.
I didn't even recognize that. I'm like, where's Kittimer?
Kittimer.
Yeah.
I didn't make,
and then I said, wait a minute, is she trying to pronounce Kittimer?
Yeah, the Kittimer Accords,
which is like basically the Kittimer Accords, which is like very, very important to the Star Trek lore itself. The peace treaty between the Klingons and the Federation. I mean, going all the way back to the undiscovered country.
Yeah,
it's. I mean, I Undiscovered Country is one of my favorite movies. When it comes to the movie series itself. I mean, this was fantastically done. If you have a sound system, anyone out there who hasn't seen this yet and has a really good sound system, crank it, because it is literally when I used to sell electronics, I used to use the opening few minutes of this movie, because that whole thing when Praxis blows and the wave just comes right across, and then it hits the Excelsior, that is fantastically done.
Yeah,
when it comes to this, was visual effects and sound effects on there.
Yeah,
and of course,
it's an even numbered film. And all the even numbered films do really well.
I mean, the acting was very good on. I mean, every character in here. I mean, when you had them quoting Shakespeare, which was Klingon quoting Shakespeare, as they're in battle, that's like one of the best scenes in the movie. That when the Enterprise is fighting the Klingon bird of prey that can shoot, in cloak.
Shoot whilst cloaked. Yeah.
While cloaked, which is like, see, that's the thing. Here's the science to the point. You advance some of the ships. You make some advancements, some forward advancement, and you put a Klingon bird of prey, you'll be able to shoot still, while it's cloaked, It's really I really did enjoy that. When it came out. Let's see. Wait, hang on. Deep Penzak. How many producers people did the pronunciations get passed before it became blatant or an intentional mistake? Yeah, that's true. It's true. I mean, technically, we don't have quality control in Hollywood anymore. I mean, they used to pay people to do this, and it's the same. It's the same thing in the physical media industry, because I've worked in the physical media industry all the way back to the VHS era, and we had quality control. And the thing about it is, even though we went high speed duplication on VHS and then we went to DVD, we still had to check at least one disc or at least one VHS tape to make sure that the quality was good before we started, labeling everything and shipping them out. Now, these days, it's like, just ship them out and all that. And you see all the errors in physical media lately. And then now in TV show, the regular TV shows and movies, all the errors in all these classic shows, that have returned on there.
I can buy that maybe pronunciations have changed over 800 years, but I mean, number one, everybody's speaking like it's early 21st century anyway. They're speaking as now, so I don't think they did that on purpose, right? Oh well, let's change the pronunciations a little bit just to make us remember it's the future. Well, if you want to make us remember it's the future, stop having everybody talk like a 19 or 2020 Zoomer. That's number one. And I mean, number two, this show is getting it's $5 to $10 million per episode. They can't hire somebody to go through and say, hey, you did this wrong. Like, I mean, this show
script
is
supervisor. There used to be
expensive.
script supervisors. Yeah.
I mean, the same with the script supervisor. How could you miss out that piece? We're like, hey, let's bring in the piece from the drumhead. Go back to the drumhead and read it. And you mistranscribed it. Like, come on. I think they didn't want to put too much about freedom. They didn't want to push the the freedom aspect, because that would be, quote, probably too right wing or something, right? That's my thought.
I think that opening was veering in that direction with the whole I can talk. There was even the line about my facts matter more than your feelings, and I thought for the people who put the show together, that was actually probably going way beyond what the show was.
They're going to get kicked out of Hollywood.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think they had to, I don't know, maybe toned it down a little bit. Like, I was surprised at that. Oh, we're going to get a thing about censorship from the people who most want to censor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's interesting.
I mean, you're seeing that the way that, I mean, when you're looking at this show. And I've always said this to the point where they go, it's made for the modern era, and that's basically what that they're putting these shows out. It's like, we got to make it to the modern era, so people would understand. I said, no, you don't need that. You don't need that at all. Shows like this were made back in a time period where things were changing. We're improving. Star Trek original series was at a time when the Hays Code was being eliminated. So the things that were happening, Kirk kissing Uhura, having an Asian as far as the main cast member, and all that, and the subject matters. Let this be your last battlefield. The Nazis and all those stories, great stories that they had in there. You could not do prior to 1950. After 1950 and especially getting into the 70s, yes, you started to see the changes, the improvements to this. Now we're getting into the 2025, 2026. It's all reverted back to prior to the 50s.
I mean, it was very. People say Star Trek has always been left wing. I don't agree. It's been progressive, and it's been in the sense that, and I don't mean the progressive in the name of which Americans usually use. They use liberal or progressive to describe the left wing, but in other countries sometimes we use progressive just to mean forward looking and not necessarily tied to a political party. So. I mean, Star Trek has always been progressive in that it looked to the future and tried to, go that way and expand out. And how can we be better? How are we going to progress? But that doesn't mean, in this context, it doesn't mean left wing. So yeah, I mean, I can agree. Yeah, progressive versus conservative in that it didn't seek to conserve certain things, certain ideas. It sought to progress them.
Yeah, no, it's insane. I mean, you don't even call it liberal, Republican, Democrat back then. It was it was a wagon train to the stars. I mean, yeah, wagon train to the stars. To that point, that at a time period where westerns were really popular, also in that time period, to have something where people were traveling in space to that point. And getting back to the episode, of course, we had Jaden, of course, and I said this in the Twitter, basically that can Klingons cry? Technically, no. Why? This he was going through. It looked like he was having a fit. When he's sitting there trying.
He was having a panic attack.
Like a panic attack.
That was a panic attack. That was obviously like all the symptoms. Obviously, a panic attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen a Klingon have a panic attack in a series? Klingons are ready for battle. I mean, even Worf, Alexander, who basically, they grew up outside the Empire. And
Alexander kind of rejected his heritage while Worf embraced
exactly.
it.
But he decided to take that point and go forward and become, part of the Empire and stuff. Even though he was a joke to the situation, but in the end, the crew found it to be good luck that all his mistakes. So they embraced him in there because he tried as a warrior.
Yeah.
Whereas Jaden was running away from the whole situation.
And he wasn't, can you imagine a Klingon scared of public speaking, right? Oh, I'll face death, and I'll die with honor, but I don't want to talk out in front of people. And these are all his friends too. Like he knows them all, right? Like it's not like he's not speaking to some crowd of people who don't he doesn't know or anything. Like it's just it's this appeal to the Generation Z. You see, he's got mental problems just like you all do. There's one of you out there that feels, anxious speaking in front of people. I mean, most people do. See, he's just like you. He's got ADHD or panic attacks or whatever else you have.
But see, that's the thing, and this is the thing that they keep pushing on this series is that, we're all the same. No, we're not. People from other worlds have other values and other thoughts, how they handle things. Perfect example, Enterprise, episode one, where they landed on that, looking for the information on the missing Klingon that they were looking for. And they go to the first time they're on a new world, and Trip sees a kid coughing, coughing, and the mother's doing something to the child, and he starts to say something out, and T'Pol is like, no, you don't want to get involved in it. You don't want to be involved into that situation, and he gets more further into it, and then finally T'Pol explains, says, no, that child is learning to breathe, because she doesn't breathe our air. They have to use a certain, I think it's an ammonia, I think that they have to breathe in. And he didn't understand that. And what we treat the way in our world when we see a child being abused by a parent or someone on there, we're quick to jump to try to save the child. But in this situation, we didn't understand what was going on to that point. And that's what this is where they're getting it wrong on this series, is that you can't compare the Klingons, the Romulans, the Vulcans, and every other race. You can't compare them to people from Earth. They're all going to be always something different about them.
Well, I mean, each race in Star Trek is a reflection of an aspect of humanity, right? And the Klingons are the violent, the violent are of our nature. The Vulcans are the logical, the Ferengi are the greedy, the Romulans are the sneaky and deceptive one. Like that's what they are all. That's what it's all about, right? So if you neuter the Klingons, you are, or any of the races, from their what they are supposed to be, then you've lost an area that you could explore. That aspect of our humanity, the violent nature versus the logical nature versus the deceptive versus the whatever, right? So I don't know why they want to do this with it. I mean, they don't know what they're doing. You don't want to do this. They've neutered this character. He could have been a cool Klingon, but he is the exact opposite of what a Klingon is.
Yeah, I think we're seeing part of the homogenization of things, and I think this is eking into writing where you can't have tropes. And the races were pretty much tropey. Klingons were always warlike. Vulcans were always logical. You had your exceptions every now and then, but typically they followed certain silos. And now the writers are probably trying to loosen that aspect. I will say one positive thing for the character Jaden. It has been a consistent character since episode 1. He's been very quiet. He's been withdrawn. He's always been, unsure of himself. I remember when he was told to get in front of the military school students, he was really, a fish out of water. And I think the consistency of the character should be applauded, even though the character itself is quite weak. At least they're making it a consistent character. I do agree, though. I remember Next Generation. Worf on the bridge. Worf stood out like a sore thumb.
Yeah.
He was Klingon. And a lot of his reaction wasn't because he'd been trained or he was adhering to tradition. It was the blood flowing in his veins. It was the genetic encoding of survival that all Klingons had. And he would leap to, "Shall I fire at them, Captain?" Stuff like that. And it was constantly Picard telling him to stand down and not to lock on weapons, because that was his jump to status, as is pretty much every Klingon, because they live in a very hostile society. It's coded into them.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know whether the writers are trying to explore something different, but in doing so, I think they have taken a lot away from what it means to be a Klingon. And that's unfortunate.
There's if you remember First Contact, there's a part where they bring Worf, like the Worf is in the Defiant and it gets blown up or whatever, and they bring him onto the Enterprise, and later on, Picard is tells them to do something, and Picard's kind of going off, and most of the crew thinks he's risking too much lives because he's obsessed with defeating the Borg. And he says to, Worf's like, "I don't think we should do that. Go and attack them." And he's like, "I don't, and he says, "I know we should do that." And Picard looks at him and basically calls him a coward. Yeah. And Worf, pulls himself up to his full height, gets really close to him, and like you could just see the character is just vibrating with anger. And he looks Picard right in the face and he goes, "If you were any other man, I would kill you for saying that." And I'm like, yeah, that's a Worf. That's a Klingon.
Yeah, that's a Klingon. It's exactly
absolutely.
What happened?
I mean, there's another great episode in Next Gen where Riker goes to serve aboard a Klingon ship.
That was a great episode. Yeah,
and it's a fantastic episode. And he's trying to learn the basics of the Klingon, the Klingon lore to the point. And he got a little bit of his smarts. That whole table thing where where the female Klingons were like wondering if he would endure them, and he looks at them and says, "One or both of them." To that point.
And all the other guys laugh.
Yeah, the other guys laugh,
and that gains him some, with the rest of the crew, right? Like,
right, yeah. And the thing is, you hear it's like, wow, that I've never heard a Klingon laugh, and it says, "Oh, we laugh," to the point. So, Mr. Worf, he doesn't laugh at all. And he says, "Well, we do laugh."
Yeah, Worf is an atypical Klingon. Klingons are very funny. Like they like to joke like this and joke at each other like this sort of thing, right? And the fact that he said, one or both of them at the same time, as if he could take, they're saying, "Oh, you couldn't even handle one." He's like, "Oh, I'll take two," right? And so they all laugh. What a good joke. I mean, but Worf is so straight-laced, he never jokes. He's atypical in that way for a Klingon.
Mm-hmm. Now, see, the thing is, on this episode, they had a chance to explain the whole situation properly, of the what happened with the Klingon Empire and Jaden's family and stuff like that. And I think this is where it fails on there, and I'll tell you why. One, it was like a polyamorous family, two fathers and a mother. That would never happen in Klingon lore. To that point, it would be the opposite. It would be like one Klingon male and maybe a couple of female, especially now when you only have 8 houses of the Klingon Empire left in existence. They're on the verge of freaking extinction. And it's a, hey, listen, you got to try to make as many children as you can. Quoting again another episode of Star Trek Next Gen with the Glenn Laurie, with the Glenn Laurie and the clones, which basically, that they're going to have to repopulate the clone planet, which is basically that they've already cloned themselves to almost oblivion, where their clones are just deteriorating. And they said, well, no, you're going to have like multiple men have sex with, or multiple women, just to keep the species alive. And that here, this is where they fail upon this point.
The whole thing's it's a joke. Klingon society is highly patriarchal. There's no way that this would ever happen, and it doesn't make sense, right? Like just from taking humans from a biological perspective. Mm-hmm. How many children can a woman have a year? 1. How many children can a man have a year? Well, an almost infinite number. So this is just it would not be, the reason men go off to fight is because if you have 100 males in a tribe and 100 females, if 100 males go off and 80 of them die, well, you can still have, the tribe can still survive. Well, if 100 females go off to fight and 80 of them die, the tribe is dead because it'll never be able to repopulate. So it's just, this is just, it's a farce. I honestly think that they might have put this in afterwards to, push up their social credit score or something like that, because, I noticed that, correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't see that thing about my two, my fathers and my mother. That wasn't said, like that was a voiceover, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I didn't actually see the actors make those words. And then when I watched the episode, Jaden is dealing with his father all the time, right?
Mm-hmm. That's
and this is here good. And he's never dealing with, if this other guy in the middle here is his other father, he never talks to him. Like it's just the one father. You think one of the one would say, hey, the other father would go to him and say, yeah, I agree with your other father, do what he says, or hey, take it easy on him, or something like that, right? If they're co-parents, or they're both fathers. I think this guy in the middle was an uncle or something like that, because he doesn't interact with Jaden whatsoever. I think they just sort of shoehorn this in at the end. He's maybe an uncle or something. And, and notice he doesn't look anything like the first, like he looks very similar to Jaden and his brother with the dreads and everything. And the father looks quite different, right? So I'm not sure, but I think they just sort of shoehorned it in at the end. They're just like, hey, let's make him have 2 fathers. And we got the spare guy in the back. They didn't we'll just, cut that stuff out.
Yeah, it's one of those moments where if you blink, you kind of miss it. And because of Twitter, I was looking out for this when I was watching the episode. And at the end of it, I was like, it's a nothing burger. it's literally it. They didn't focus on it. They didn't make a big song and dance about it. It was barely a mention, and it didn't affect the story. That it focused on Jaden and his father, and then the mother from time to time. Nothing more.
Yeah, it's literally one actor saying fathers instead of father. Yeah. Like adding an S onto a word. That's literally the extent of it. And it's just foolish. I don't understand why. What's the point? It had, like you said, nothing to do with the story. I think they just put it in there they're like, oh, we're going too much against, pro freedom at the beginning and stuff. Maybe we should dial it back a little bit. Let's give them 2 fathers. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, before we go any further, I just want to make sure everyone out there that's watching, if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. Be sure to share this video and hit the like on there if you enjoyed this type of programming that we're doing here. Also, because I noticed this just happened in the chat, we got someone that went a little nasty. We don't take to people that are going to be very vulgar to the count. You have a response here. You get a good response to the nature, but when you get to the point where you're going to say something that you know it's very offensive, we're going to either ban you or we're going to put you in timeout. So understand this. To the person that just did this just a few minutes ago on the chat room on there. So
Now,
we'll move on a little bit onto here's the thing. Getting back to this scene right here, when his brother dies and all that, and they're saying, "Oh, we refuse the Federation's tools and stuff like that." I'm sorry. The item that they're talking about is widely used throughout the Federation. Klingon Empire has it, the Romulans has it, the Vulcans, the Andorians. It's something that generally it is used. They said, "Well, we're refusing it." I said, "You're refusing it. Why are you refusing it? Number one, you're going to let your son die because of that." Now I understand warriors they fight, and death is a good, for them. It's great to die in battle to that point. And you look at the scene where they're sitting there, okay, and he dies, right? Two big errors in here. Do you know what the two big errors are?
it was written by people who know nothing about the Klingons.
Well, that too. But do you know the two errors?
Sorry.
Just in
No,
this
not
scene
not offhand. I'm not sure what you're referring to.
Okay, you look at Jaden. What's Jaden doing? That his
So Jaden's not howling to the skies.
he's not howling. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, good point.
Number two, when a Klingon dies, his eyes is closed. The Klingon there open his eyes to see death come take them. They're just letting his eyes close, and that's it. Then they're screaming out on them. No. Generally, a Klingon is supposed to basically open their eyes so they see death as they're dying.
And they're howling to warn everyone in Stovelcore that another warrior is coming, right?
Exactly.
That's why they do it.
Exactly.
So,
go ahead.
Yeah, that's a great. Those are great points. Even the other point is, like I said, you mentioned that this piece of medical equipment is, it would be akin to like a stethoscope or a scalpel or something. No, we can't use that. It's just foolish. And then the other part is, Jaden is supposed to be a healer. He wants to do this. You'd think he would done some medical training beforehand. Maybe he read a book or something, and they just stand there and they watch the guy bleed out, or I don't know what's going on. We don't really know how he's dying, but they just sort of stand there. Should we help him? Nah, let's just let him die.
It was a poison blade, if my memory recalls.
Oh, right.
His blood was running black. It was poison. He was pretty much done for. They needed to extract the poison and repair the damage. I found all of this incredibly confusing because it's almost as though the Klingons were taken back to a pre-technological age. And I found that hard to believe. Just because the burn destroyed a lot of their reactors and disabled their ships and, it was a massive loss of life, you wouldn't lose the peripheral technology that didn't rely on dilithium crystals. And this, for me, this was the bit that really, there are moments that break the fourth wall. And believability in the scene and the technology and the way that technology is applied is one of those, especially in the Star Trek franchise. And when you get something as glaring as this, at this point, I'm trying to sympathize with the Klingons. I'm trying to put myself in their shoes, realize they've lost their home, they're fragmented, they're refugees, they've got nowhere to kind of settle. And I'm struggling to, because, what have they just, did the Klingons never develop any technology of their own? It was all provided by the Federation, so they've kind of turned their back on all of it. Have they become Amish? It seems bizarre to me.
Yeah, we know that they have technology. They have they have cloaked ships when the Federation meets them. They have all that stuff.
They got that from the Romulans, though.
Yeah, and maybe they
vice
maybe they don't
versa.
worry.
Yeah.
They don't worry as much about medical technology as the Federation, but they do have it.
Yeah.
They like I assumed, with the bows and stuff, I assumed that they were just using these weapons because this is a traditional hunt. You got to learn to do it the old ways, but and then you can take your ray gun and shoot down a boar or whatever. But I assume that they're doing this not that they had gone back in technology, but because of the traditional aspect of it. But I mean, I do agree with your other points. They got the spaceship, right?
Yeah.
Shuttle, whatever it is. It's it's got to have power and all these things like medical and that sort of things on it. I mean, it was a bit of a weird.
Well, also
the writers
hunt,
don't know what they're doing.
the hunt itself, when you get youth becoming to an adult Klingon is a private matter. It's not. Perfect example is the 300, where King Leonidas, when he's younger, he goes into the wilderness, with no clothes on, barely on that to try to survive out there in the wilderness and hunt. And basically, it's the same thing here. The Klingon Empire, a child becoming a man, goes out on his own, does the hunt himself. No one is there to help him. He's on his own. He comes back with something. All right, fantastic. If he doesn't, well, he wouldn't be a Klingon warrior. To that point. And you notice on the bow, they try to angle it, and this is what I said. Where are the bat'leths? This is almost like a Klingon bat'leth, the way that the way it's bent.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that in that, if I'm firing a bow and then somebody, sneaks up on me or something, I may want to stab them with that thing. But I agree. Why, where are the bat'leths? It's just a piece of metal, right? Shaped in a certain way. It's not high technology.
And the daggers.
How come they don't have them? Where are their daggers? The classic Klingon daggers with the hole in the center and the nasty looking sides and everything. Those are cool.
Well, no, also the dagger has their house insignia on there. So it is their going again, another episode of Deep Space Nine, where Worf takes the dagger from Martok's son to get Martok's attention, and Martok goes to Worf's room and he's like, "Give me my son's kata," back, to that point. He says, "Well, now you're here, I can give it back to you because now I've done what I needed to do, and I have you here." So the daggers are important also to the Klingon family itself. So where are they?
Anymore, I guess.
Not anymore. Again, this is where it's and the thing about it is the clothing that they're wearing. I mean, it's you didn't have your regular uniforms, you didn't have your regular clothing, would you? It looks like something that you got off of TJ Maxx or something, to that point.
I question the whole, what the writers are thinking when they're sitting down to write this. It's very schizophrenic. They don't seem to know what it is.
Yeah,
I've
only seen
how to get there.
Yeah, I've only seen something like this where you've only got IP rights to a certain part of the franchise, so you have to change key details. So you change enough details so that you're not infringing on the IP you don't have. But from what I understand, they've got the full IP to everything Star Trek. Creating this, so they don't have to change the Klingons. They can adopt everything that came before, knowing they're not going to infringe or get into trouble. So all these changes seem unnecessary or rather amateurish. Someone has written them in, or someone has been in charge of wardrobe and thought this looks cool, and they've just gone for this looks cool, and it just hasn't worked. Now I know there was, I love this image. The Klingons change between the original series and the Next Generation, but that change I think was more because wardrobe and makeup had improved over that time, rather than a change for change's sake.
They could afford to do a little bit more makeup on the Klingons and make
absolutely.
Them a little more,
I felt they were filling the vision of what the Klingons were supposed to be. And I read a lot of Star Trek books when I was younger, and they always described the Klingons as you see them in the Next Generation.
One thing that was great within the Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, and original series is in Deep Space Nine, you had that time travel one where the Defiant goes back in time to K7. Which was the Tribbles episode.
Yeah.
And if you notice, is that they went back and got the at least a facsimile of the original costumes of the Klingons of that time period and the looks. And I love the great line in there where Worf is sitting there and they're all saying like, the waitress comes over and he says, if you ask what a Raktajino is, who asked for a Raktajino? The Klingons. Which Klingons? You don't see the Klingons all around you here? And she walks away and they look at Mr. Worf and Mr. Worf, we don't speak about this to anyone. It's something we keep private.
Yeah.
Which we know in Enterprise that basically a virus happens, which basically has to change the Klingons for temporarily to that point.
Yeah.
And Deep has said, and the audience became more sophisticated due to 1970 science fiction. That's true.
Mm.
Yeah. All right. Do you want me to go over my the good parts of the
Well, we
show?
still got a little bit more to go on there.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah. No, we still got a little bit more to go. Where am I here?
I'll wait to the end.
Yeah, we'll wait for
It'll
the
be
end
real
on that.
short.
I'm lost. Hang on, I'm just trying to find the right card here. And of course, Aki, she has to give her 2 cents to the situation on here.
Damn, she's short.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's short. But
Get her on a box or something. Jeez.
We get that point that she tries to put her 2 cents to the situation, and then she tries to resolve this situation by seeing an old friend. Whoops, sorry, wrong. My interpretation.
That didn't happen in the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, that did not happen. Nowhere near that exactly.
It almost
happened.
did though.
It was hinted. Yeah.
Oh, big time. Big time. I thought it was going to happen.
But yeah, that when you had that point in the episode, did I get the right one here? Okay, here's the picture. Okay, just trying to get the picture up too. There we go. Yes, that didn't happen either. But it seems like Aki and the Klingon, which, if you notice one thing, what was wrong with this Klingon? Which actually, unfortunately, the color of this is because the AI kind of colored it over. His skin was light tone.
Yeah.
Very light tone.
But some Klingons are lighter.
You are correct on that. Not as light as he is. Because you got to remember where they're from.
It was a bit.
They're on a world that is basically, the temperatures are very high. It's volcanic to the point, very heat. So in other words, it's almost like if you're living in the tropics or you're living somewhere where it just it's very warm. It's hot all the time.
That world blew up 100 years ago, and he could have been in space during that time and lost a lot of that tone.
That's right. I mean, you're right. I think it's fairly, overall, it's kind of minor. I mean, look on Undiscovered Country, who played? Was it? It was Doc Brown played the main.
Search for Spock. He still had a tan.
Oh, yeah, you're right. That was Search for Spock. Yeah.
No. Oh no, it was Christopher Plummer.
Christopher Plummer, yes.
Yeah,
and Plummer did have somewhat of a skin tone, but because if you look at Kalar, also her skin was not completely that dark. Her father was human and her mother was Klingon. She had a little bit in between. But you look at Alexander goes, a little bit more darker to that point, And even when he grows up, his skin almost balances out to almost a lighter tone. Whereas this, it's like, did they watch the episode with the albino and thinking that the albino was a Klingon? When Dax was and the other Klingons showed up from the old series to go after the albino. I mean, I think that's another error that they were putting through on here, that basically they're not looking at the lore itself, that they're basically just jumping to the situation on there, that we need more color and representation to that point.
They could have they could have looked at something like B'Elanna from Voyager. She was lightly toned, but then she was only half Klingon, And it could be someone was thinking back, thought a tone similar to hers would be suitable.
I mean, I would suspect that they found this actor. I don't know his name offhand, but he does a pretty good job in the episode. For what he needs to do, and they like him. Hey, this is the guy, and unfortunately, his skin tone's not dark enough. Let's try to darken him up a little bit or whatever. But
it's David Keeley who played Obel Wolchuk.
Yes, Wolchuk.
And see, and the other errors is if you, we'll jump back to the first part of this episode. Is there was one of the students in, with asking Picardo something on there. He was wearing glasses. I mean, see, here you had another guy in a wheelchair in another episode. You have a kid with eyeglasses. Really, the Federation have pretty much solved all these ailments, blindness, basically handicap.
800 years ago.
Well over 800 years ago, and now what? The technology no longer exists at this point. The burn killed that as well.
Yeah. We're going to solve these problems within the next 50 years, if not sooner. It's just it's just. I mean, I thought I found it funny. Maybe you guys would disagree, but the whole the kid challenging his betters. I mean, that really took me back to this sort of current generation where they say, where you've got you've got I think it's a clip from a TV show, but I'll just use it to demonstrate it. They're doing the kids are in this university class, and they're looking at literature from the 1930s America, right? That's what the whole course is about. And inevitably, there's a certain word in this literature from Huckleberry Finn and later on like that. And one of the students says up, the author or the professor says that word, and one of the students pipes up and says, "I don't think you can say that word." And I think that's what they're doing on here, right? The gall of somebody to sort of question your betters. And this is what this generation does. Like, oh, you can't say that word. Oh, I can do whatever I want. It's my class.
Yeah.
I think that was ripped out of that. I'm not sure why they did it. And I would have preferred, instead of swearing, Robert Picard, instead of swearing, because that's low class and, it's not Star Trek. He could have said something else that had made that. If you had to have that come up, he could have said something else that that maybe challenged an idea. Or, he could have said, well, no, all people are not equal or something like that. And then, hey, you can't say that. No, we're all, something intellectual, not just a blatant curse word. I didn't appreciate that. I thought it was a little, the idea wasn't, necessarily bad, but.
And the language, like you said, the curse words, what was it? Episode 2, was it 2? A Romulan giving the middle finger?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, come on. I mean, it's just literally you've taken, and I'll say this again, they've taken each of these races, and they just, eliminated their entire lore to them. Romulans aren't going to sit there and give a finger to somebody. They're going to sit there. They may chastise you or something like that, put you down. That is anger that the Romulans do, because basically they're the offshoot of the Vulcans, that of the more aggressive nature to that point. And and the Vulcan also. The Vulcan is not even dealing in logic at all in this.
Yeah. It's Dean said it's the homogenization of anything. If you look at Earth cultures, you can look around the world and there'll be, people will have different ways of insulting people. And the one that just, jumps to mind is the Italians used to, they bite their teeth at you, and that's an insult, And hey, even within humans, we have all kinds of different cultural ways to insult or whatever. But I guess the Romulans don't have any culture because they just have to, use 20th century Earth
Yeah.
culture.
One of the problems that I've got with a lot of the stuff, the glasses and stuff like that, is it feels when Star Trek, and again, I'm going back to the Next Generation because that's one I really fell in love with. Patrick Stewart was asked, why haven't the Federation found a cure for baldness? And he turned around and said, why do they need to? The Federation has evolved to the point where being bald no longer matters. And I thought that was a very clever way of looking at it. But the Federation solves the problems that do matter. So if you've got issues, if you're blind, Geordie LaForge with his visor, stuff like that. What we're now seeing, and it comes back to a point I made earlier, which is the believability of the show. Star Trek's always been about that optimistic future, about being better than you actually are, to give the audience something to aspire to. And I don't know whether it's the inexperience of the writers, and I suspect it probably is. I don't think it's out of malice. I think they, from what I've seen, I think they're trying to do a good job, but they just lack the experience. And they are putting a lot of real world now into the show. And Star Trek wasn't about putting the real world into it. It was about imagining what the future could be if we strive to do our best.
They lack the skill and the ability to look beyond their own small little box of the world and write those aspirational stories. I mean, I always assumed, I didn't know that Stewart said that, but I always assumed that the reason that they had solved baldness, but Picard was just not vain enough to go and change himself because he didn't care, which is kind of the same thing, right? What does it matter if I'm bald or not? Who cares? Just carry on, right?
And joining us, which I guess it was the confusion of my ad on there, Outpost Nerd. Sorry for the confusion, Outpost.
Yeah, in Discord it told me 8 tonight. So I'm thinking, it's going to be just a regular show again, not.
No, it's fine.
You hear me?
It's fine. You know what it was is that we put the ad out, and I used AI on the thumbnail, and I guess I left it at 8 p.m. on the thumbnail. I didn't even realize it, and Dean was the one who mentioned it. He's like, he texted me, he says it's at 8 o'clock. I said no, it's 3 o'clock. So I went back and changed it all to that point, because we're gonna stay at the 3 p.m. slot. For those out there who are watching, we're gonna stay at the 3 p.m. slot. Man Cafe will be pretty much Tuesday from here on in, 3 p.m. Eastern. So,
but what I caught a little bit of what Dean was saying, this was never, Star Trek was never meant to, I think, really reflect the present, but inspire the future.
Yeah,
and that's what this show is failing to do at every turn. It's either I'm sorry, we've discussed this ad nauseum. They would not talk like us today. They would not be concerned with some of the things that they're concerned about. Like you were talking about Patrick Stewart being bald. No one cared that he was bald.
No.
There's a throwaway joke in Nemesis where he's like, with more, remember this cadet with more hair? And we talked about, I used the example last week or on another show where in The Next Generation, where they have that alien who takes the look of Lincoln, the look and form of Abraham Lincoln. And he's shocked to see Uhura on the bridge. And he's like, such a charming black woman. He uses another word. And he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. And she looks at us and says, why would I be offended? It's what I am. It's a word.
Yeah.
We don't care. We don't give them power anymore.
And then there's the whole thing with Samuel Clemens on Next Generation episode.
Oh, yes.
Where he's trying to figure out, he's like, you don't have poverty, you don't deal with money, you don't deal, what is there left, to situation, and Deanna's explaining to him,
where him and Troy are walking through Troy's escorting through the halls. A Bolian walks by, and he's like, "You're telling me that his race is not enslaved?" And she's trying to explain that everyone's in the Federation by their own choice, and he just couldn't understand it until he saw or with just in the short time in Relics when Scotty meets Worf, He's shocked that there's a Klingon officer. Because I remember that's one of my favorite episodes of Next Generation is Relics. And he, even at the end, when he's walking onto the shuttlecraft to fly off, he kind of gives Worf a little wide berth. He's like, oh. But it's this. And this relationship, the way Jaden treated Caleb in this episode, I think was despicable. Here's someone with Caleb who has never had a real connection with anyone in his entire life, and he connects with you because he feels a kindred spirit, that kind of neglected outsider, and you're going to throw it in his face like Jaden did. I would, if I was Caleb, I would have never talked to Jaden again.
And the thing is, and suddenly Caleb is a master debater.
God,
he's a kid who grew up on the run.
They teach that in prison.
It was you got to learn fast in prison to survive.
And that's what he
Everybody
says.
takes debating.
He said,
in prison.
I had to learn these
How else do you
regulations
survive?
fast so I knew which law I was breaking.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he cared which law he was breaking. He was breaking them all. Come on.
But
And it gets me on that. And then, of course, obviously,
As a joke.
I know.
this scene.
Bad, man.
Yeah, that was a bit. Yeah.
I was watching this.
Well, I think.
Sorry, go ahead, Snob.
I was going to say that I think that they don't specifically say it, but they're basically saying that Jaden is gay. The whole at the beginning of going back to the flashbacks with his brother, and he's going hunting. He's like, "Aren't you going to teach me to hunt?" And his brother's like, "No, you're meant for something different." And it really stuck to me that Jaden at the time doesn't understand that he's different. It kind of pushed back to like the old 80s after school specials where the kid doesn't know he's gay yet, but the big brother or sister knows, and they go, aren't you going to teach me how to talk to girls? And he goes, no, I think you're meant for something else, right? Because he knows and Jaden doesn't. That's kind of the feel that I got. I don't know, you guys might disagree. It's maybe a bit of a reach, but I mean, this kind of confirmed it here where these guys, I mean, this is way too, for a bunch of guys.
Yeah.
They're way too close to each other. And it's like, here, hold your hand here. And then the look in their eye at the end of it, I was like, Holly Hunter had that look in her eye with what's his name, the Klingon there at one point. I was like, oh, they're not going to go there, are they? And then these guys, same thing. I'm like, oh, geez.
Very homoerotic. It was like, oh, okay, come on.
I personally, I don't mind. I'm a big fan of Modern Family because I just think it was a funny take on all aspects of life. What gets me with this scene, it just feels awkward. It doesn't feel natural, and it doesn't. I didn't feel it added anything to the story. It just seemed to be injected because they had to have something like this. And we get this in every episode where it's almost like there's someone behind the scenes and they got this long list and they go, oh, come on, guys, you need to insert something like this now. And I hope the writers are there probably scratching their heads and going, can't we just write Star Trek? And it feels like there's awkward. And it is. I feel this episode had a different writer compared to 1, 2, and 3 because it was the most Trek, albeit with a lot of mistakes. But there were elements where it was a real nod to the old. It was trying to pay homage. It was trying to follow in the footsteps.
Glover wrote it with, and he says he wrote 2 episodes. So this is obviously the first one. I just thought this was weird in the fact that, like, Jaden's a warrior. He grew up with warriors. He must know some sort of coming before battle techniques and that kind of thing. What does he need this guy to teach him to him? He should be teaching people these kind of things. It just seemed very manufactured and strange. I'm agreeing with you.
Yeah. And the thing is that, I mean, Hollywood needs to stop with all the signal flaring, and like I said, they're trying to put the made for the modern era type of situation into these episodes. Nobody wants that. Nobody who's an average Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. We go to a list of things that that has been freaking ripped apart to this situation. I always point back Star Trek, the motion picture, and hi PB, how you doing today? Basically, a lot of people say, "Well, I didn't really like it," but when you look to the perspective that Star Trek: The Motion Picture was one of the most original Star Trek looking, as far as film wise, than most of the other movies to that point. And I think that's what people didn't get, was that they were looking to make a movie about from the Star Trek original series point of view.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with that is that they basically took an episode, 45 minutes, and they just squeeze it
into almost 2 hours,
into
exactly.
an hour and a half,
yeah,
2 hours. So that was their problem. I mean, it's their first movie; they're getting their legs. I mean, it is. I've heard from people that doing television versus going to a movie, it's very different. The actors have and producers and directors have said, "Hey, this is really a different beast." I got to start thinking differently and stuff. So I can see why they might have made a mistake there. Yeah. But it's not a horrible movie. It's way better than this.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is that they say, well, if you don't like this, it's not made for you. Why don't you go out and make it? Perfect example this weekend, and I said this at the beginning of this episode. I said congratulations to Markiplier, who made his own movie, Iron Lung. Got to the theaters, made $21 million, 7 times the amount it cost to make the movie he made back in the box office. Now, what did Hollywood do? They just literally purged him out of the box office list. It disappeared for some time.
Yep.
It was like in other words, everybody else on the list moved up one, and he just completely vanished. He ended up to be number 2 in the box office. That point, it's back in the listing again. It was put back on, but the thing about it is, hey, listen, Hollywood was trying to hide that. They were trying to hide that this guy did $21 million worldwide, and he funded it out of his own pocket.
Well, Cam and I have been talking on my show there a little bit about Star Trek Continues. I started watching that. I've seen the first 4 episodes. I mean, that is classic Star Trek. Like, it is just like the original series. I mean, it's well done. Even the actors are they're playing Kirk and all that stuff, but they're not like, it's not like Vic Mignogna doing an impression of Kirk. He's got a lot of the mannerisms down, but he's still making it his own. So there is, it can be made. I mean,
you got to realize too, they went with it continues. They went out of their way to make it exactly like the original. They even had some of the crew that was still alive come and work on it. Like, I think one of the costume designers was on the original series. And you had Vic is a fan. The entire cast and crew was a fan of not just Star Trek, but of the genre. Like, in the first episode, they have Apollo from the Babylon 5, not Babylon 5, Battlestar Galactica remake. The guy who played Apollo. He was the engineer on the hull that got blown up outside with Grant Imahara as Sulu. The guy who played Apollo in the original Star Trek series, that was him. So it was beautifully done. I will agree with you.
Go ahead, sorry.
It's one of my favorite Star Trek.
If you want to see good,
go ahead. Sorry.
If you want to go see good Star Trek, and you don't watch this, and you like the original series, go see Star Trek Continues. You can download them all for free on their website.
They're all on YouTube for free.
Giving it away. 11 episodes.
No, in fact, I don't even know. Are they still doing the tours? Because the sets are still up down in Georgia.
I think they do them during the summers, just when people like have a break. They come in and work because the series took them about, I think, 5 or 6 years, because they would just come together like a summer vacation and do all this.
Yeah, because I know a lot of people saying, "Oh, I went to go see the actual set." Down in Georgia, and and the sets are great. They're really well done. They were, between the sets for Continues and Axanar, those are 2 really well-made sets. To the point, and then there's another set of sets for Farragut. I think it's for Farragut. Also, is somewhere else in the U.S. that that series their sets are also in a warehouse sitting there as or is that could be used for filming. It's ready. They're already set for filming.
The coolest thing, the thing I loved most about, well, one of the things I loved most about is Chris Duhan came and played as Montgomery Scott, played Scotty,
Oh
came
yeah.
back and filled out his dad's role. Chuck Huber, the guy who played Leonard Nimoy, from a lot of these guys, they're voice actors. They're friends of Vic's. The woman who played the counselor, she was Vic's girlfriend at the time, and a lot
Yeah.
of these were friends and just people from like local people too that come and work, and they just love the series. You don't see that kind of love in this kind of crap. Like, are you telling me now that the ship Athena can come into can separate into three pieces now?
Yeah, that we're about to get to that in a minute on there, because that's the next thing I wanted to talk about. It
Oh, I
is
wanna-
just literally the tail
What's the
end of
date?
this, which again, we're going to bring up Undiscovered Country at this point as well. They decide to take, and the thing is that they detach the saucer section of the Athena, leave the whole entire drive system, and the saucer section goes into warp.
Yeah, that's
Really?
I had to do some research on this because with all the dilithium disappearing, my big question was, since the burn, how did they get back to warp travel and the rest of it? And I know they had dwindling supplies and they found the planet with a load of stuff, but they also had a project called the Pathway Drive that the Federation was developing. And allegedly, the Athena uses the Pathway engine. So it's new warp technology. It doesn't need the nacelles and stuff like that, which is why the ship looks incredibly different. And I think it's a lot more portable. It's a lot faster than warp travel and so forth.
Well, the thing about
But
it is
that's a stretch.
no, that's a stretch. But the thing about it is, nobody's able to answer this for me. 29th century. This was on Voyager. The USS Relativity. The USS Relativity doesn't use dilithium. It uses a different type of drive system. Even though part of it is a time drive. It would have survived the burn.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, it
32nd
did
century.
because it turned
not
up
there.
in Voyager. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there in the 32nd century. Where the hell is it? What happened to it?
Oh, come on! What are you guys? What are you guys asking for now? You're asking for a little bit of
No, it's not only
continuity,
continuity.
a little.
The
Come on.
Relativity was not the only ship, but there were other ships that were created that were moving away from the dilithium that the Federation was playing with.
You're making the assumption that the writers actually know what's going on.
Ah, there we go again.
That's
The
the
writers didn't know.
They don't know anything.
This is where we put to this point. The writers didn't know. They didn't do their due diligence to look at what happened. I mean, completely obliterate to just take out the time war. And of course, and PB brings this up. The Romulans used artificial black holes to power warp drives. The burn shouldn't have affected the Romulan Star Empire at all. These people hate Star Trek. Exactly. The Romulans had their own type of drive system that did not use dilithium.
Yeah.
And yet,
but the Romulans became nice guys, so they don't want to take over the Federation at that point, right? They were all just like,
again, Paramount killed, the Vulcans, the Romulans, and the Klingons.
I think there was a divergent timeline the moment they did Discovery. And that's how I kind of deal with this. When looking at a divergent future of Star Trek, Discovery kind of created a nexus point, went off in one direction. So our original sort of Star Trek continues there. That's where we kind of leave it. And Discovery created this fork, and this is what we're exploring with these TV series. It's Star Trek,
That's
but
what
it's not Star Trek.
Put in my
I
mind.
hope so.
But
According
again,
to what I
the USS
everything
Relativity,
after Enterprise, it doesn't exist. It's not. It's
but
according
again,
to-
USS Relativity is supposed to solve these things.
Yeah.
according to what I
Maybe they saw what was involved solving it and thought, no, we'll let this one just go.
let these guys go. Let them stew in their own.
according to what why we've been talking, I've been looking it up. The Athena does not use a warp drive. It uses a quantum slipstream velocity drive, equivalent to like 9.999 for
Yeah,
12 hours.
that's the
before a
Pathway
cool-
project. Yeah.
Yeah, for a cooldown of a 12-hour trip before a 7-hour cooldown, which that's just in time to cover their asses.
You know,
It's techno jumble without scientific fact to make it believable.
Yeah.
What it really runs on is hand wavium.
It runs on wokeness.
It's creating a believable scientific framework, and every series of Star Trek has gone through great lengths to do that, to make sure the audience could buy into what they're seeing. And here it feels like there's a bunch of Harry Potter fans who wanted to do Harry Potter but in space, and they're waving the magic wand to say, "Oh, these things work by magic," and that doesn't work for Star Trek. You need the technical manuals, you need the foundation, you need the descriptions of how exactly it works, and
Like,
teleporters. Yeah.
Let me just mention, there's if you're interested in that, there's a girl on YouTube. I can't remember her name.
It wasn't
she knows nothing, almost nothing about Star Trek.
It wasn't just Romulus.
But she knows Harry Potter very well. And so she's on and she's trashing this. She's been watching the show and she goes, I heard it was like Harry Potter, so I decided to watch it. She's putting out videos trashing the show. It goes, I don't know much about Star Trek, but this is horrible. And she just trashed it. And her points are right on. So I can't remember her name, but go searching around.
Let me say something to PB. It wasn't just the Romulus planet. It was the entire system and most of the Romulus Star Empire that got destroyed. That supernova traveled through multiple systems, destroying every system in its path. It wasn't just Romulus. Romulus was just the only major superpower hit by it. So that's why they're kind of refugees now.
Yeah, but again, it's supernova traveling. This isn't Star Wars where an energy weapon can fire across tens or hundreds of light years and hit planets, in an instant. It's breaking that fourth wall.
It would take a long time, and then it would be, like, we forget how big space is. It is big, and to get it to another star system, I mean, the energy would be greatly reduced. And the Romulans, my understanding, I mean, you might be right. Opposed, it would affect certain systems, but the Romulan Star Empire is pretty big.
Yeah, and a supernova only goes
2 planets
from like 6,000 to 25,000. 6,025,000 miles per second, which in space is not that fast.
No.
They'd have lots of warning and stuff for outside of the system. So I just they don't care. They don't. My understanding, PB, is that a supernova would only affect its own system primarily. Now you could, I'm sure you could imagine a big enough supernova that it might affect another system, but that would be
from what I understood, it destroyed. It was the Romulan star that went supernova, correct?
Yeah.
And it destroyed the Romulus, but it was going to affect other. It was affecting other systems. So that's why Spock had to stop it, and got sucked into the Abrams universe.
Yeah, it's the same thing with Praxis. Same thing would happen with Praxis. When Praxis exploded, it sent a shock wave throughout the entire sector.
Yeah, like they felt it on the other side of the
it passed across the Klingon
military
Federation border.
So, I think they're stretching. I think they're stretching the science to make it seem like everything's more like all these spacefaring situations are more interconnected.
Yeah, and the Romulan star was not some huge, super giant, that's 10 million times the size of our star or something. It's going to be, pretty close to ours. So,
and then of course we get
they don't care. They just write whatever. Science doesn't matter.
And then of course we get to this scene here, and like I said, the Athena leaves her drive system behind to come to this scene, and basically we have. What is it, about 5 Federation ships, I think is in total, 5 or 6 on there?
There were quite a few that came in, yeah.
Yeah, and that's it. And then meanwhile, 6, if you look at the Klingon ships, which also had some of them also carriers, also the refugee carriers on there, you were dealing with a lot more ships than what the Federation brought. To the point.
Yeah, but some of them were
some of them were
freighters. I
freighters.
think. Like they
But then Aki, she sits there and goes kabla, kabla, and and it's like, I don't think you would say something like that if you're going into battle.
No.
You-
It
you'd
was
be
the
going, like,
cringest ending to a show that I have ever seen, and
Oh my God.
I cannot stand Acne or Aggie Aki. I cannot stand Aki. I think the character is poorly written. I think she is an amalgamation of different captains and commanders, but all the worst qualities of them, her disrespect for authority and command and the Federation. Janeway, for me, was a rebellious captain, but she always respected the chair and she always respected her crew and did what was right, even though she would sometimes ignore the prime directive when it suited her.
Well,
But
she was in a situation completely different than any other Starfleet officer, except for maybe Archer, which was pre-Federation. She would ignore the prime directive, but remember, she demoted Tom Paris for doing that exact thing.
Yeah.
He got and he was in the brig for like what 3-4 months at least.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So because remember, she always second guessed her decision to destroy the caretaker array, because she was like, I could have gotten us home, but it would also let the Ocampa at the whim of the I can't remember that other race's name. So
The
Kazon.
Kalon. Yeah.
Kazon.
Kazon.
So she was not. I don't think she was too. She could bend the rules. I don't think she disrespected them, but she could bend them.
Absolutely not. And that's the point I'm making. Is Janeway was a strong captain.
Oh, she was one of the best. My favorite.
Absolutely. I love Janeway. And then you've got this, and they're trying to emulate Janeway's personality, but it's the utter disrespect, it's disregard, it's the flippancy, and personally, it's the walking around in bare feet. I cannot stand people who walk around in public places in bare feet. It's just one of those things. I just can't stand it.
God, they did not have that in this episode, or her laying, trifling on a couch or something.
Oh, jeez.
In this episode,
you don't do that in Canada, man. Your feet will freeze up. I think now I will say that I think Janeway was a good captain too, and the reason that she's good is because she starts at the beginning of the show and she seems a little weak, a little bit questioning and not very confident. But by the end of the 7 years, she's just telling everybody what to do, and I don't care what you think.
Voyager was her first command. It was her first mission as captain, and she got fucking through across the universe or the galaxy.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's what I'm saying.
It was
really good writing.
She comes out as a weak and a little unsure of herself, and that grows over the 7 years at the end, where she's like, "No, we're going to do this. We're going to do that. I don't care what you say." Number one,
I think giving her Chakotay, who was a more experienced officer, was such a good choice to make the Maquis commander the second in command. I think that was like a great, because he knew it. He had already been a second officer, a first officer on a ship before he left for the Maquis. And I loved the dynamic between them. There's a scene in one episode where he asked her, he says, what would happen if it would have been Voyager that got destroyed instead of my ship, instead of the Valjean? And she the perk of being a captain is never having to answer that question.
Yeah. See, you got me wanting to watch Voyager again now.
Yeah. The thing that got me, which, one thing about Voyager, I love Voyager on there, but there was two things that could have been extended. The Year of Hell should have been a whole season.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That should have been a whole season in itself. And the same thing with the Scorpion episode with the Borg, the whole Borg with the war with the Borg and everything. That should have been a whole entire season.
My favorite episode is when they go back to like the 1999 San Francisco or San Diego, Los Angeles with the time ship. It was our first introduction to a time ship. The only reason it's hard for me to watch this episode because I hate Sarah Silverman. I hate her. and she's like such a big part of those episodes. It's when the Doctor gets his mobile emitter. That episode, that two-parter.
Yeah,
Can
the
you
introduction of
imagine
Braxton, Captain
the type of-
Braxton.
Yes.
Can you imagine the type of stories that they would have written with a whole season of the Year of Hell while things slowly and slowly fall apart, trying to hold it together?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I said, it should have been an entire season. The stories that you could have told on here, and you know, they could. It would have been one of the best seasons ever.
Now, was
For any Star
Scorpion with the one where they find the other Federation ship?
No, Scorpion was the one 709 introduction.
And what was that? What was that one where they find the other Federation ship and they find out they're like stealing and like
That I'm trying to remember.
Pirates.
Can't remember the name of that episode.
the ship
It was a two-parter.
Yeah, the ship gets destroyed, and Janeway takes on the crew from that ship. And I remember her stating of like, they're all demoted back to like ensign or cadet or whatever the lowest. And she says, "This you're going to learn how we do things on my ship or on this ship. We don't. We still follow Federation regulations, except for when it was about the Omega particle. She just kind of threw that as like, here's what the Omega particle is. So she knew what rules she needed to break and what rules she needed to keep.
Yeah.
And we had an episode on Voyager, a Lower Decks before Lower Decks was created.
Well, we had a Lower Decks episode of Next Generation.
Yeah, that too.
Which is a great episode.
Mm-hmm.
It really, I think that's one of the first episodes that really builds up our knowledge of the Bajoran Cardassian occupation. I think that's where we first hear about it. But yeah, I think every series but Deep Space Nine had a Lower Decks type of episode. I don't remember one in Deep Space Nine.
Are we going to do the battle now?
I don't remember one on there.
And just yeah, but it's.
Now, Snob, you had something you wanted to say, put up here. Do you want
to talk about the battle first, or do you want to?
Well, the battle in itself was the Klingons on there and the Federation, and let's fight. Boom, boom, bang, 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 bang. Up, we give up, and that's it.
Well, okay. Let me comment on that. I think this battle is the most dishonorable thing you could do to a Klingon, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you, if you're in a contest with somebody, the way to dishonor them the most is to not even try. I don't even respect you enough to even try. And that's what they obviously did. They're like, oh, pew, 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 pew. And then, okay, we surrender now. Like, only an idiot, and Klingons aren't idiots. Only an idiot would think you actually won. And, in this situation, the Klingons would even be more angry. And they go, you guys disrespected us. Now we really want to kill you. Because you didn't even try.
I mean, were there pack lads there? I mean, we are pack lads. We are so smart.
It was a Nova class, not another Intrepid. That's right. And it was a different class ship.
They could have. I suggested, they could have done this differently. They could have just come to the Klingons, call them a bunch of names, and say, "Hey, you're never going to get this planet from us. You'll have to take it from our cold dead hands." And then the Klingons invade, and then they take it. Ha ha, we've got it. Screw you, Starfleet. And then Starfleet just says, "Well, we're gonna come and get you," and then you just never get them. Right?
Of course, this is like an allegory to illegal immigration, obviously, to this point.
Yeah, it's just so tired, and
But the thing about it is, and here's the stupidity. Of course, the writers didn't watch the Undiscovered Country. There was no problem of them creating a new Kronos. When Praxis went, they said, to the whole situation of the Khitomer Accord.
They did create a new Kronos.
They had to get the alliance with the Federation so they could fix the atmosphere.
Yeah, they had to clean the atmosphere from Kronos. They never changed planets.
I thought they did. I think for some reason I thought they did.
No,
because they said because the evacuation of Kronos.
Yeah, because if they didn't fix it in 50 years, the planet would be uninhabitable.
Yeah, that was the reason for the Federation. The Khitomer Accords was for that reason. There was no changing planets.
No, there was something what was it?
It was not about changing planets.
fight,
It was-
fight.
They were
Shut up.
evacuating Kronos because if they didn't fix things, and that's where the Chancellor Gorkov was
Gorkon.
invited.
Yeah.
Gorkon, thank you, was
Yeah,
invited
great.
to
David Warner.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. But
Brilliant
he was
actor.
invited to try and convince the Klingon Council and to try and convince them to join with the Federation, because without the Federation's scientific endeavors, they wouldn't be able to clean up their atmosphere, and they would be forced to leave their homeworld.
Yeah, they fixed it before they had to.
Yeah.
David Warner also played the Federation ambassador in the movie before, the one where Spock's brother. I can never remember.
Final
that one.
Frontier, was that?
Final Frontier. Yeah,
Yeah, terrible movie.
Search
yeah,
for
it was
God.
the worst one out of them. But
Yes.
he played he's the guy who created the Ninja Turtles in the second Ninja Turtles movie. That's what I love. I remember him from
Yeah.
Secret of the Ooze. But yeah, they never had to leave Kronos because Klingons weren't stupid back then.
No. There were a militant group who were happy to sabotage it and try and cause trouble on both sides, but no.
But they accepted help.
They
Yeah,
did.
that was
that's
because
most important.
Gorkon was so liberal in his views. They even said if we need to help now because before a more conservative government comes back into power.
Yeah.
'Cause Gorkon was very liberal in his views. I remember that dinner scene was amazing. It was there were so the guy who played in Sound of Music as what was his name? General Chang, the Shakespearean quoting general, was my absolute favorite. Because he's they call the Federation a Homo sapiens only club, and one of them Christopher Plummer, great actor. Oh my god, great actor. They said Klingons need room to grow, and Kirk's like Hitler, 1943, and Spock just looks at him like, "Are
Spock
you
gives him a
fucking
look,
kidding
like-
me?" Like he doesn't show any emotion, but are you fucking kidding me, Kirk?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we were saying, TV.
Bad
It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh,
It had Renee. I can never say Odo. The guy who played Odo, he was the sniper who almost killed the Chancellor's daughter.
Oh,
And
wow.
the guy who played the the other admiral, not the commander in chief, he went on to play Captain Sisko's father in Deep Space Nine. So they had a lot of actors that they recycled later on, which was it was a great movie, one of my favorites.
Yeah, that's, I just got it on 4K. I just got those in motion picture, Wrath of Khan,
Absolutely my
Spock.
favorite.
and Undiscovered Country in 4K.
Why are you skipping out on one of the best ones, The Voyage Home?
Yeah, I like The Voyage Home.
I do too.
Some people said the Voyage Home 4K is not that great.
Dean, did you realize this? Remember when Kirk and Spock are on the bus and the punker is playing his music, and
Yeah.
Spock pinches because he won't turn it down? Did you see in season Picard when 7 and 9 and what's her name are on the bus? You see that big old rocker, still a punk rocker. He's playing his music on the bus, San Francisco, and 7 says, "Can you turn that on?" He's like, yes, ma'am, of course." That is the same character and actor from A Voyage Home.
Right,
He's like-
I haven't seen season 2 of Picard. I saw season 3
Yeah.
only, but that's a great nod. I like it when they do stuff like that.
And he knew, he's like, "Oh, I don't want to get knocked out again. So if someone's asking me nicely, I better turn my music down." That's the only good thing about season 2 of Picard.
Yeah, it's the only good thing in the whole first 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
That was a
back
horrible
to the
movie.
battle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
back to the show.
thought that was way too short. It was like, what, 2 minutes?
And no one got even hurt.
Nobody
Yeah.
got hurt.
I
No
don't
ship
know
was
whether
damaged.
there was an arrangement in the background that this was all a setup. And
Oh, for sure.
I agree. If
Mhm.
it was a setup, the Klingons, if I was a Klingon captain on board a ship and I was
I
told we
would've
were
been
going into
pissed.
battle, I'd be livid at being told to stand down. It would be like, no, they haven't surrendered. This isn't a battle. We haven't won.
Yeah.
Let me kill me some humans first
Yeah.
and eat their blood and stuff.
Again, it's breaking the fourth wall. It's removing the believability of the show, and it's silly stuff like this that just lets down what could have potentially have been a nice, refreshing take on
Yeah.
Star Trek.
It would have.
And
I think it would have been on par with some of the Dominion War battles if they would have just. Oh, I'm just going to sit here in the same spot and shoot back and forth for 30 seconds. Oh my gosh, we surrender. You win. God.
and it's quite obvious too, because
Yeah.
Acme makes the point of saying, "Oh, we surrender," and it's so lucky that nobody got hurt on either side.
Yeah.
I mean, geez, like rub it in their face as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing I liked about it, and Snob has told me he thought this was stupid. One of the ship in that picture on the farthest left was the USS Riker. They named it. You told me you did not like that.
I don't think it's stupid. It's just a member berry they throw in to try to get us to like the show. And it's not.
I don't know. I can
care.
like nods like that, but it was.
They're not going to save the show by. Oh, look, Riker, that's a character you used to like. We named a ship after him. Like my show.
Say,
your show is garbage.
I can say, oh, that's cool. The show is shit.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. I don't think
These
I
Klingons.
just don't care. It's not that important to me. I mean, it's fine, but I don't hate it. It's just they're pandering. They're trying to pander.
They are.
They pander to one side and they try to pander to the other side. If they want to pander to everybody, just write a good show.
That's what they should do. They should be thinking, what makes Star Trek? Let's write a good show that shows Star Trek in all its glory. And forget real world. Real world doesn't apply to the Star Trek universe.
If you want to, this show is not Star Trek at all, and it's not going to keep the Star Trek fans. I mean, if you're writing a CW 90210 show, I mean, what's going to make, if I like 90210, what's going to make me, watch this Star Trek show? I'm not going to watch it. Oh, Starfleet Academy. Well, what the hell does that mean? It's probably some space show. I'm not going to watch it. They've totally, they're not appealing to anybody.
I have asked, what is the audience this is intended for? Do they watch it and do they enjoy it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you like 90210, why would you watch this show? Oh, it's kind of like it, but it's not. It's got a bunch of weird space things and some guys with these weird forehead stuff, and the girls always licking windows, and you'd be like, what the hell is this? I don't like it, right? And if it's Star Trek, you're like, this is nothing like Star Trek. It's like a CW show.
Yeah. So this is why Pluto TV does very well with itself being a great streaming site. Why? They got 4 or 5 Star Trek channels constantly running Star Trek 24/7. And we're not talking Discovery. We're not talking Picard. We're not even talking this series. We're talking original series. We're talking Next Gen. We're talking Voyager,
Berman Trek,
Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise. Those series.
Star Trek ended at Enterprise.
Exactly. Enterprise could have been the greatest of them all, but unfortunately, the writer's strike killed it.
No, not just the writer's strike.
Mm-hmm.
It's been said by a lot of the cast members and a lot of the executives. It was a lot of studio interference.
That too.
Phlox has said the biggest problem they kept getting day after day studio notes and having to change so much. The thing with the first season of Star Trek Enterprise should have been this. Broken Bow should have started like it did, but then that whole season should have been that year of them getting ready. Like maybe the Enterprise is getting ready. The whole first season should have been this second of getting ready to launch, not the 30 minutes into the first episode. And then that second season should have been that getting to Kronos and dealing with all that. And then the third and fourth could have been what they were, but we didn't get it. They did too much in Enterprise too fast. And that's not the fans wanted. If we wanted to see before Kirk, we wanted to see pre-Federation, pre-human beings being out there. But that's not what we got in the first season.
No.
And
but I mean, all in all, it was a good show. It was
there was one episode that was about one of John Archer's flight buddies got killed in an accident.
Yeah,
and he's telling them about him competing to break the warp 5 barrier. That should have been the entire season. That should have been an entire season, kind of like what Snob was saying about Scorpion and
Year of Hell.
Year of Hell.
Year of Hell. And I would have loved to see. And I do like it because Enterprise was more. It was more like. It was more reachable. It was more relatable. Like they watched movies. They had all sorts of different more like stuff that we would have today. But not they didn't have any of the social issues until like the very last episode with like that Peter Weller was the bad guy in the last few episodes with the Earth supremacist movement.
Yes.
So I always found that funny. They had him, and then like in canon, it was like 50 years later, they have another guy who looks exactly like him, in Admiral Marcus.
So,
'Cause-
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to keep going on, but no, you want to move on. You're good.
Yeah. Snob. So let's get to what you wanted to bring up.
Well, I'm just being forced to. I don't really want to bring it up.
Come on, bring it up.
Cam challenged me. I said, I'm going to watch this show. I heard it's going to suck. It's going to be really bad. He goes, I challenge you to find the good in the show. And I'm like, oh, geez. I mean, so this is the only good I can find in the show. And maybe you guys can comment on it. So the only thing that I found with any redeeming qualities in this episode was near in the beginning where Jaden at least has got a little bit of balls and he's standing up for himself a little bit. I mean, they screw it over at the end, but at least he's going, no, you don't need to, we can still have this debate. You don't treat me like I'm a child and we can't talk about these issues just because my parents are missing. Don't tell me how to be a Klingon. Don't tell me, we don't need to do what the Federation says all the time. We have our own rules and traditions and stuff. Now, of course, they destroy that because, they don't follow up on it. And he actually doesn't follow his traditions and everything. But at least at least he does say that. There's a little bit of a pushback to this agenda. No, we'll help you. Let me coddle you and pat your back and stroke your, yeah, don't worry, baby. It'll be all fine. So that is really the only thing that I could pick out of this episode, which is a little bit of pushback from that. Of course, like I said, they blow it at the end pretty much, but yeah, that's it. Sorry. I couldn't do any better than that.
Well, I can I bring what I thought was quite good from the episode
right
as
ahead.
well, because I was trying to find something interesting, and it was the Jaden Caleb debate where they got really feisty and in each other's face, and listening to that debate back and forth, it reminded me of someone arguing for a collective-based viewpoint and someone arguing for the individual-based viewpoint. And I actually found that a very interesting debate because you got Jaden saying, I'm Klingon, as in I'm collectively Klingon. And Caleb saying, but you're a Klingon who is working with the Federation. And the way the two danced back and forth, I actually admired that writing. I thought that was well done. And I thought the acting was actually it was interesting to watch. And I thought the two actors did their roles really well in that scene. That's one of the things I thought was good with the episode.
The only good thing I could say about this show is that Genesis and Tamara. That's the only good thing I can say about this series.
No, I ain't gonna go. I was about to go somewhere else on this, but no, it's okay. So let's get though, because we're getting to the end of this.
Let me just ask one further question. I mean, like this whole debate thing. I mean, why not say, hey, the Klingons are, their ship might have blown up. We don't know where they are. Let's take the spaceship and get all the cadets and let's go save them and help them and, give them aid and medical treatment and bring food and all that stuff instead of like debating the whole thing. Like, wouldn't have that made more sense? These guys are missing. Let's go find them, and then you could get the ship out and you could do all that stuff. But no, we're going to just debate about it. How does that help?
Oh, no, wait for the next episode. We'll go over that in a minute here. Because you think this episode's crazy? Right now, the trailer just hit. Trek Central just put up the trailer on X.
I've heard what it's about.
It is exactly to what I thought it's going to be. It's a Benjamin Sisko episode, The Search for Benjamin Sisko.
The mentally deficient hologram is going to search for Benjamin Sisko.
Yeah.
I mean, she can't even, doesn't even know not to lick the rocks.
Yep.
Like, how the hell is she gonna solve this 800-year-old mystery?
Yeah.
Whose
It's-
idea is this? That's the worst idea ever. Every character's got to have their episode, I guess. But I mean, just it doesn't make
And speaking of Cisco, wasn't someone reading something by Benny? No, that's right. It wasn't. It was in Strange New Worlds. Doctor Mbenga would read a book to his daughter, who he kept in the teleporting buffer. It was a storybook by Benny Johnson. Benny Johnson was the name of the character that Cisco took on in his profit-induced 1940s, 1960s delusion when he was the science fiction writer, when no one wanted a black science fiction writer. I thought that for a second was in this movie, this episode, this series, but never mind. Had the wrong series. It's like,
they just use little.
Is Benny Russell real? Was Benny Russell real or a fake, a delusion by Cisco? We don't know now because of this shit.
No, it was the prophets. It was the prophets.
Exactly. Well, then why does Dr. Mbega... I know that.
The devil version of it.
I know that, but then why is Dr. Mbega reading a book by Benny Russell to his daughter?
I don't know. Maybe there was a Benny Russell in history or something to that nature.
Because the original, y'all heard that.
A little Easter egg. They're going, hey, look at this.
Let's throw in an Easter
like
egg.
Like the show, it's a little
Deep Space
Easter
Nine
egg.
was not supposed to end like it did. Deep Space Nine was supposed to end with Avery Brooks sitting on a bench on the Paramount lot reading a script for Deep Space Nine and panning out like it did in the original. Or they were supposed to make it, Star Trek's all fake. Well, no, don't end a series like that. That's like fucking Dallas in the last season being a daydream or dream.
They should have done episode season 8 where we find out that Bashir is actually is the leader of Section 31.
and the thing is on the trailer, because I have it on my other screen here. There is a Bajoran orb. I'm curious how they're going to butcher this.
Is it the orb of the emissary?
We don't know. It doesn't say in the trailer, but there's an orb. Someone opens up an orb in the episode.
This tells me that Benjamin Sisko never returned from the Celestial Temple.
No, he was not supposed to return in our time, or their time.
No, from what I understand, he told the actor. What was his wife's name? Penny was the actress's.
Right.
She played in Orville. From what I understood, he was supposed to come back years later, like in their lifetime, in her and Jake's lifetime. Because remember, he has a daughter he's never met.
Right. It's a possibility they didn't write it, but it may have happened. But as far as what with Cisco was technically not supposed to come back in their time, technically in the Federation time frame. It's like further down the line. It's sort of like a second coming, in other words, for the Bajorans to that point.
I gotta say, I am not looking forward to this one.
Cassidy.
Cassidy Yates, yes.
She was she was another baseball fan because "Take Me Out to the Holosuite" was one of my favorite episodes.
I like the James Bond one on the Holosuite ones.
Holosuite, that was another great literary tool that they created for the next generation.
Yeah, you had the Sherlock Holmes.
From what sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you had the Sherlock Holmes. Then you had sort of the what is it? The
Dixon Hill.
The Dixon Hill. I'm trying to remember on the Humphrey Bogart character.
Dixon Hill was the Humphrey Bogart detective character.
Right. I'm trying to remember the Humphrey Bogart name. And then you what is that? I'm trying to remember the Flash Gordon type on Voyager.
Captain Proton.
Oh, that was good. Yeah,
Proton.
Yeah.
Which I would have loved if they did more of that. That would have.
And then one of my favorite one was one of the they had Leonardo da Vinci played by the great John Rhys Davis as a Holosuite character.
Oh yeah.
The Voyager gets robbed. It's one of I think the last season, one of their episodes. The Voyager gets robbed, and the Doctor's holo emitter gets taken as well. And they find the planet where all this is taken, all it's taken, and they're in the middle of this alien bazaar, like alien marketplace, and up comes fucking Leonardo da Vinci, and his program was in the doctor's hollow emitter, and he thinks he's in America. That's how the character rationalized it. John Rhys Davis is one of my I loved. Gimli is my favorite Lord of the Rings character, but I'm wondering how. Because from what I'm reading, sorry, getting back to Ben Cisco, in Star Trek: Deep Space Nine's series finale, Cisco did not immediately come home, choosing to live with the prophets in the Celestial Temple to learn, though he promised his wife Cassidy Yates that he would return. So that tells me that it might not be tomorrow, might be next year, not be 5, 10, 15, 20 years. He's going to come back in her lifetime. So that tells me that I don't think they're going to make it like he never came back or.
Well, no, you have to put to the perspective. He probably did come back in a way which they didn't write to see his child and all that. But then he went back with the prophets, and remember, the prophets don't see time the way we do. On that, so basically, the time he spent with them is, which was, a blink of an eye. In their case, it might be like
but it's still
years,
he would come back in her lifetime.
Years.
And in one of in the 2022 comic book series, he comes back after 3 years. So I'm thinking they're gonna fuck this up.
Of course they are. Of course they are.
I'm reading, as you guys are talking, I'm reading a little about this episode, this idea, and I'm like, I'm going, it might not be that bad. I mean, I remember the time I was in college and I took the time off right in the middle of my studies to go solve the mystery of the Tutankhamun pyramids. And then at one time where I found the Holy Grail, and, there was other time I found the Ark of the Covenant, and, a bunch of things. I think that happens.
It's not a real school. It's not a real school.
Indiana snob?
That happens all the time in college when you're in college, right? I'm gonna go off and solve this ancient mystery that no one's been able to solve for 800 years. I did it all the time. What did you guys do that? Maybe you didn't go to college. I don't know.
All right, I think we're losing the audience here. So
what a great idea for an episode. It's just going to be, and they send the dumbest character too.
Yeah, we're losing the audience. So let's wrap this up. Let's give the rating. Let's rate this episode on there. Let's start with Dean.
Right. I've tried to see the good in this episode. Having watched the 1 to 4 almost back to back, this is the best episode I've seen so far, and I would give it probably a 5 out of 10.
Okay.
It's middling. It's watchable, but only just.
Outpost.
I think I get with how bad they treated one of the most fascinating races in not just Star Trek but in sci-fi. They really turned them in their head. They made them complete idiots. They made out like debate is like a battle almost. Like no. I think the worst person they could have had run the debates is the Doctor, because he's so biased in everything he does. I give this maybe a 2.53 maybe out of 10. I was live streaming you guys Q2 when I was watching it. I'm like, oh my god, this is awful. God, kill me now. I couldn't. Oh, it took all I could to get through this.
Snob.
Well, best episode ever of the four ones. I'll agree with Dean. Now, that's not saying much. Unfortunately, I made a mistake last week. I gave the episode a 3, which is very high. So now I can't give any lower than a 3 for this episode because this was better than that one. So I'm going to give it a 3.1. It's bad. I mean, they're all bad, but this is like I said, the only good thing is the Klingon pushing back a little bit from the Star Trek or the Starfleet wusses who are like, no, let me cuddle you and make you. No, I'm a man. Get out. mean, but again, they blew it anyway. But they tried, I guess, sort of. 3.1. That's my. Yeah, I can't go lower than 3 unless it's worse.
Well, I'm going to go
Maybe
lower.
next week. Maybe we'll get a 2 or a 1 next week.
Well, last week I gave last episode a 1. This week I'm going to give it a 2, and I'll tell you the thing that gets me. One thing, and I've said this many times before, I love villains in stories. That's the one thing I love in stories is the villain story arc in all these. Klingons originally were the villains. Yes, to that point. I loved it in the original Star Trek on there. Motion picture, situation. When we get to the TV series, they had Worf. I like that. They made Worf. He was, growing up in the Federation on there outside the Empire, and then you had the whole situation. The Khitomer Accords and all that. The peace treaty with the Klingons and all that. And I said, okay, that's all right on there, but you're going to be still dealing with the Klingons in certain ways, and the points that when you get to Deep Space Nine and they decide to withdraw from the Khitomer Accords and go on their own to fight the Dominion and the Cardassians. And I said, that's great too, have that on there. Battle has done. And then when they came back, to the point where they're like, we can't stop the battle. That episode where they saved Gowron from the shapeshifter that, it turned out to be, Martok. Martok turned out to be a shapeshifter. And they said, hey, thanks for saving us, but I can't go back on the Khitomer Accords on there. Battle has already been declared. We must end the battle by winning it.
Yeah.
To that point, and that's why I give. I'm really upset what they did to the Klingon. They killed the Klingons in this episode. They sent them to hell, exactly like that article said, and it got me. To that point.
Yeah. It was by far one of the worst Klingon episodes I've ever seen.
Yeah. So next week we will be discussing it's episode 5, the search for Cisco. It's not called that. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but it's not called the search for Cisco. But all the content creators are going to be the search for Cisco. It's going to be this time next week on there. So let's go over all our shows that's going on. Dean, what you got coming up?
We've got a live stream of Untold Destiny on Sunday. It's our sort of a campaign group. There's 5 players and me, and the details will be going up on X. Follow us on X at Evereye Games for more information.
All right.
And I think the week after, I'm appearing on the Babylon 5 show as well.
Oh, that's right.
That is true.
That is true. Outpost, what do you got coming up?
Just some shorts coming out. I've been focusing mainly on short form content. Doing pretty good. I will have some shorts talking about Supergirl coming out over the next few days. So check them out.
Yeah, someone's AIing Supergirl. They're torturing Supergirl on X using AI.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's a weird thing someone's doing up there. They're going on, and they finished it off, and they said, "Okay, who's next?" To that point, it's getting a little crazy as far as the DC universe online with the AI systems. Snob, what do we got? We got this. What do we got tomorrow night?
Babylon 5 tomorrow night, episode 7, Exogenesis. I've watched the episode. I think it's not bad. It's not bad. It's not quite in the mainstream of things, but there's a couple of threads in there. But now's the time to jump in because the end of season 3 is really, I'm told, I haven't seen it. I'm told is really good, and we've got the two best episodes on IMDb are rated is the episode 10, and we're on episode 7. And episode 22, which is the last one of the season 3. So we're going to be moving towards that. And my the people who are in the know keep telling me this is like now we're getting into the best part. Sort of episode 7, 8, 9, all the way to 22 of this season are really, really good. So now's the time to join us. Next Sunday on the show, I have an idea for a show, so I'm ahead of the curve. I just got to. I don't want to say it yet because I got to throw it out to Cam and make sure we're online with what we're doing. But it might be enjoyable this Sunday.
He's got to check with the boss.
Well, it's just.
And now we gave you a good list of movie nights that you're gonna have to go through now too.
I had a pretty good list before.
We gave you a better one.
Additional ones are always. Well, I don't know about that. I mean, is that better than Soylent Green? Come on. I mean, always appreciate suggestions for movie nights. There's tons of movies that are in there that are, that are.
But everybody wants Zardoz.
Perfectly in the movie night. Yeah, Zardoz.
Everybody wants Zardoz now.
No,
I don't know about that. We'll see. It was 50-50 last time, so we'll see if it wins this time. But yeah.
And then of course, Jeff didn't show up. Bad News Bars this Sunday, 9 p.m. Eastern. I think they have another guest schedule on there, even though it's Super Bowl weekend.
That's right.
To the point. That's why. Because people were saying, well, how come the Game of Thrones series is the new episode's airing Friday? I said, no, because it's Super Bowl Sunday. That's why. So basically, do catch up with Death Angel Shadows on there. I think about the 9 p.m. That's got to be around the halftime show. So do catch a show. Get some good stuff on there. They've been talking a lot lately on there. Also, of course, live from the bunker. We're not certain when he's going to be back on. We hoping Mindy will get better to that point. Because I believe she just had the operation today for her back. We send prayers. Healing
might be done.
prayers.
I don't know.
Yeah, he may be back sooner. We just don't know as of yet what's going on that. We haven't heard yet on there. And then, of course, get this up there. Man Cafe now 3 p.m. Eastern now on Tuesdays. We moved it to Tuesdays. We seem to have a better audience than the 8 p.m. slot. So we're going to keep it on Tuesday itself. And then, of course, the Man with the Show daily videos. We got 2 videos hitting tomorrow. One of them is an Otaku Thursday hit. We're talking about the purchase of Egg Firm, which is basically Crunchyroll now has Egg Firm, which is Mushiko Tensei and Danmachi. So, Sony is becoming a monopoly in the anime and manga industry. Why haven't the regulators step in on this? This is a situation on there. But also, the reason I bring up last on Otaku Thursday is I'm going to make an announcement now. We are going to be rebranding Otaku Thursday very soon. We have a new name, new logo, and new style for this show. And we're moving forward. We're looking at March to relaunch the Otaku Thursday new branding on there. We're looking at new days and times on there just to squeeze it in. Right now, we're testing it on shorts the next couple of weeks and see what happens, like what we did with Man Cafe on there as well. So do tune in. It's and we're looking to bring someone else aboard onto Otaku Thursday. So hopefully that will be soon on there. Oh, where are we here? Lost it. There we go. So next week, join us for the Search for Cisco, 3 p.m. Eastern, right here. I'm just going to go now to wash my eyes out with bleach after this episode. Or no, actually, I'm going to go back and rewatch Night of the Seven Kingdoms, which has been, if you want a great show right now, the Game of Thrones show has been fantastic. You don't like it, Post?
I couldn't get past the shit, and I mean that literally. Are you kidding?
Oh no,
me?
it isn't. The
No,
episode?
that is so no. The first 5 minutes of the series.
Oh, okay, of the series. No, episode 3.
No. That is the stupidest way to start a TV series. Is seeing a guy with explosive diarrhea on your screen. Oh my god, that is the dumbest thing they could have done.
Well, episode 3, they had a horse with shitting, but they started.
And then in one episode, they had the old man with his dick out.
Well, they're trying to be unconventional on this series, but the thing about it is,
there's a difference between being unconventional and downright disgusting.
Well, you got to
Why,
remember, these are people
why-
from the flea bottom. You got to
I
remember.
do not care if they're from King's Landing. I wouldn't want to see Jamie Lannister's dick. I wouldn't want to see fucking Joffrey's dick. I don't want to see dick on my TV.
Well, don't you know the Game of Thrones series was all that? Did you see the South Park episode? Wiener, wiener, wiener. No,
Well,
That's
while I,
not what it was talking
seriously,
about.
Outpost. The episode itself,
No.
beyond that cringy part of the episode itself has been excellent. Excellent. Especially the
while
reveal.
while I agree with
comrades.
while I agree with Outpost
the
on
cat.
those points, it was those things are only like 5 seconds of the show, and yeah, I know, I hear you. It's only five.
The cat
sort of 5
agrees
seconds
with
of the
me.
show, and the show is good otherwise, and I'm enjoying it. I watched the episode the other night. Yeah, the cat wants something. So yeah, if you can get past that stuff, and again, like I mean, I don't know why they put it in there. It's not important. They should have just cut it, but
Yeah.
they did.
The
But
next
the show is enjoyable other than that.
Yeah, the next 2 episodes are going to be off the hook because it's supposedly they said these are the best 2 episodes in the novel, which is basically the trial of the 7, which is basically Dunk basically knocked the shit out of one of the princes of the Targaryens, and basically now he's going to have a trial of combat. But in this case, it's called the Trial of 7. So it's 7 nights versus 7 nights on there in total combat on there. I mean, also the jousting scenes are fantastically shot. I mean, they've done a number.
Those
I mean,
are
you can't
brutal,
even.
man. Those
It's
are
brutal, but you can't tell the
Man.
CGI. You can't tell the CGI in it, like the scene where the horse gets it like right in the freaking throat, to the point you're like, oh, what the hell, because it was deliberately done by the. I'm trying to remember the name. Is it Prince Igon or one of the princes? The prince from.
They all start with an A. It's they're
Yeah.
Targaryens.
But it's he puts his lance down and stabs it into the horse, and it's just like you don't see the CGI on this. It's like brilliantly done on this, but the whole premise between Duncan and Egg, the talks that they have and stuff like that. I mean, there's the scene where they're talking about the 3-fingered woman that that she's that satisfies men with 3 fingers is supposedly on there, and you're like, and they're singing it, and Duncan and Egg is sitting there and says, what does this woman ever existed? Is her name really Arlene? And did she
Alice.
really do this? And they go into a sort of like a soliloquy type of, sort of a Shakespearean soliloquy, talking about this, and I think it's well written for this show.
I was surprised Egg revealed himself at the end of this. I thought he would wait a little.
Well, the
longer.
books are short, so the reveal was
Yeah.
going to be. I mean, you get into book 2 and book 3, it's well established. Into
Yeah,
book
he saved.
2.
I mean, he saved his guy in order to. He revealed to save the guy, but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was a big, but I love how it ended with the big reveal. It was almost like a soap opera ish. It was like, it's like, it's like, brother, why did you cut your hair off? He says, I didn't want to look like you. And then Duncan looks over and realizes that, Egg is a Targaryen, and it is like done. Everybody's looking,
which we all figured out like 1 or 2 episodes ago, but Duncan is not very bright, so.
No, he's not
Spoilers
bright at all.
don't exist in y'all's reality, does it?
What?
When you watch it, no,
You said
when
you hated the
watch
show,
it,
you were gonna watch
you
it.
didn't watch
I
it.
know. I'm not
You would-
speaking for
you would-
myself. I'm speaking for others.
Believe me,
24-hour,
it's
rule.
Tuesday. It's Tuesday. If you haven't watched the episode yet, sorry, we're going to spoil it now. If we were doing this Sunday night, if we were doing this Monday, I would, say, we got a spoiler warning here. No, we're on Tuesday now. Everybody already knows that this is happening, to the point that, Egg is a Targaryen. And also for the fans of the book novels, yes, everybody knows that Egg is a Targaryen and that he ends up to be on the throne in Westeros, at the end of this.
I didn't know this because I haven't read any of the books, but the first episode when we met them, I was like, this kid's a little bit weird. Something's going on. And then by the second episode, I'm like, he's probably a Targaryen. I mean, why is his head shaved? No one else's head is shaved. How come he's so smart? He knows everything about what's going on in the Seven Kingdoms. Like, he's got to be royalty of some type.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is that he's Daenerys' great grandfather.
Hmm.
Yeah,
that's
not the Mad King.
Yeah, no, not it's To the point.
Did you see I thought the fortune teller portion
that was creepy.
Was quite good.
That was quite good. That was like he says you goes to Duncan and says you will become wealthy and then goes looks at Egg and he says you will be king and you will die horribly and the worms will eat you alive. It's like holy shit!
Everyone will hate you and call you mad
and everything.
Like what? And it's like why did you tell me that? Jeez.
And Egg, the look on the kid that's playing Egg, fantastic actor.
It's pretty good.
He is really good.
He's pretty good.
Do that. So, well, let's get out of here. It's already, 20 after? Thank you all for coming. Dean, thank you. Invite you again on the onto this again next time you're available on there. We'll see you guys next week. Be sure to catch the 2 videos tomorrow on there. Until next time, thank you for tuning in and have a good one.
Good night.
Good night.
Later.